Come Back Wrong by Mike Huang and Ben Shu. The leaves crunched under worn sneakers as Ashlyn and Lucas walked to school together. It was a dreary October morning. The sun was smothered by thick clouds, and the air was cool and damp. Wisps of fog licked at Ashlyn's face as she pulled her coat tighter. She had always been quiet, the kind of girl who faded into the background. Ashlyn had long, dark hair paired with murky brown eyes. She wasn't fit, but she wasn't skinny either. Treated as a ghost or an echo more than anything else. She could walk through her school with white face paint and a bright red nose, and people still wouldn't bat an eye. After all, she was just the average quiet girl who carried a sketchbook everywhere. Her boyfriend, Lucas, gave her a bit more confidence, and she started to open up. After she met him, she started to care about her appearance a bit more. It started small, with longer showers, waking and sleeping earlier, and trimming her nails with a little bit more care than usual. Then it was a white hoodie instead of a black one, and new sweatpants instead of ripped jeans. Ashlyn wanted to be worthy of Lucas, afraid of him ever leaving. By contrast, Lucas was easygoing and charming without effort. He had long, wavy brown hair and hazel eyes that swirled like warm coffee on a Tuesday morning. Plenty of girls at their school adored him, and teachers' faces lightened up with a proud smile at the sight of him. He had the looks of a movie star and the grades to back it up. He always carried a certain air around him, like a warm fireplace. He was the type of person that anyone could walk up to and strike up a conversation. Ashlyn began to cough and wheeze. Lucas looked at her with surprise and a hint of panic, quickly reaching out his hands and holding her steady until she stopped. "Thanks, Bay. Keep it calm. We don't have to go today if you don't want to," Lucas murmured, eyes full of concern. No. Ashlyn protested, waving his worries away with her hand. "I'm to go today. I can't stand another day stuck in my dorm. It was just an accident anyways." His sigh dropped at the mention of the accident. His discomfort was evident. "Hey, I know it's an accident. It's not your fault," she whispered. A week ago, Lucas had called her excitedly, raving about a camp tour in the newly reopened Henderson Woods. It was an all-inclusive tour on camping activities, and a wonderful opportunity to escape the dull city life. It was a shame that the bog had been closed off since early fall after the water levels had risen due to recent heavy rainfall. Ashlyn had hesitated. Her grandmother's stories had come back to her, warnings of monsters and skinwalkers lurking in the forests, things that didn't want to be found, but an entire weekend with Lucas, she couldn't refuse. It was a mess from the get-go. Ashlyn had tried to keep them on the trail, remembering the route back with ease, but an unexpected rockfall forced them off course, sending them deeper into the wilderness, towards the bog. The car hurtled down the dimly lit road, and Lucas clutched onto the wheel like his life depended on it. Rocks, branches, and swamp vines battered the vehicle as it swerved. A sharp shriek of metal echoed through the air. Ashlyn watched helplessly as a massive, gnarly branch tore into the side of the car. The door ripped open and she was paralyzed in fear, until another branch tore her seatbelt open. Lucas's eyes widened as he looked over. His screams was cut off as the car slammed into that ancient swamp tree, the impact rattling through its frame. Murky water clouded Ashlyn's vision as dark shapes writhed and twisted below the surface. "It's just tree roots, right?" she thought. She drifted into unconsciousness. The sound of a siren stirred her awake. Blurry images flickered. Lucas, head wrapped in bandages, sitting beside her. His grip was gentle but firm around her hand, and doctors and nurses rushed around her. The hospital lights burned too bright, white hot against her eyes. Too much, too sharp. They told her it's been 2 days. They told her it was just trauma. They told her it could be messing with her vision, making her see things that weren't there. After just 3 days in the hospital, Ashlyn was discharged. Her healing was deemed remarkably fast, and the doctors were shocked, to say the least. They said she might need time to relearn how to walk properly, but by the second day, she was already moving again. The nurses should have been kind, she thought. Compassionate, even. But they weren't. They avoided her gaze, their smiles thin and forced. Something about her seems to rattle them to their core. Even Lucas, when he sat waiting in his parents' car, looked different somehow. His grin was nervous, guarded, as they made eye contact. Ashlyn could feel Lucas tense up as his eyes were fixed to his feet. The guilt was probably eating away at him. On their way back home, she shook her head as her mind drifted back to reality. Sensible thoughts triumphed against the past horrors as she walked with Lucas. Come on, I'm fine now anyways, Ashton reassured him. You know I'm strong, right? The sharp blare of a car horn caught Ashlyn and Lucas off guard, making them jump. Hey! Keep your eyes on the road! An angry face stomped out of the police cruiser before relaxing as he saw their petrified faces. Oh, it's just you, Ash. And you the guy that drove it into a tree? You two doing okay? Lucas moved to step in front of Ashlyn, but she stopped him. Sorry, Mr. Eddie, we're fine. Ashlyn apologized quickly. Don't worry, Mr. Eddie is a friend of my mom's, she explained. Officer Eddie sighed. Your mom asked me to keep an eye on you two after the incident in the bug. I heard about a crash. Keep your chins up. First day of school after a trip to the hospital is the worst. A lot of people heard about it. Don't worry, things will get better soon. And hey, remember, I deal with crazy animals all the time. If you ever need my help putting one down, ring me up. Ashlyn let out a forced laugh. Mr. Eddie's jokes were an unsettling anchor to her youth. His accent made it hard to tell if he was joking. Part of his job was to put down rabid animals. Waving goodbye to the officer, they crossed the street to the front of the school. Are you sure you're ready for this? Lucas whispered. I'll be okay, Bae. Ashlyn replied as she stepped through the front door. The school door opened. An abiding odor made Ashlyn gag. The halls reeked of limes over rotting flesh. As she trudged down the narrow corridors of the academy, she groaned in reluctance to attend her other classes. At least she could still enjoy the silent equations of math class. She walked to her locker. She froze, baffled, eyes fixated on her lock. Her eyeballs scrunched as her mind scrambled through the mass library of her memories for 4 numbers, yet nothing was there. She stood there, staring at the dial as minutes stretched. The clock stared at her aloofly as the ticking of its hands questioned her sanity. The lost code has never changed. It has been the same since grade 8, yet her memories felt distant. Why couldn't she remember now? Why today? Her fingers tightened around the cold metal. The hallway was quiet. Too quiet. She gave up and left, uneasy as the clang of the clock hitting the door echoed in the silent halls. Ashlyn made her way to the washrooms, already regretting coming to school for the day. The fluorescent lights overhead flickered, buzzing like angry wasps. The stale air smelled like bleach, but it didn't clear the strange heaviness clinging to her heart. Her gaze wandered aimlessly, her mind couldn't focus on anything. Then she noticed her nails. Lucas has always liked her nails, and she took pride in his praise. Have my nails always been this dirty? She mumbled. It's just the lights playing a trick, she thought at first. Or maybe the angle's a bit weird. But then she spied a movement, a quick, writhing shape, like something sliding beneath her skin. She rushed to the mirror, her breath fogging the glass. Then she saw it. Little specks of dirt at the corner of her eyes. No, that couldn't be right. She blinked, and it was gone. Ashlyn gasped, stumbling back from the mirror. Her chest tightened, her heart raced. She pressed her hands to her face, her fingertips cold against the feverish heat of her skin. She squinted at her reflection, but the more she looked, the more the image seemed to blur and ripple like the surface of disturbed water. She blinked. Just her face. The washrooms closed in around her. The lights flickered again, and for a moment it felt like she was no longer alone. Her fingers trembled as she winced, as she took 2 unsteady steps from the mirror, but the image of that unnatural darkness in the swamp remained in her mind. The lunch bell rang. Ashlyn took a deep breath and walked past the mirror. No dirt in my eyes, she muttered, more to herself than anything that might have been listening. Just my normal black eyes. The cafeteria was louder than usual, yet none of her friends were in sight. She sat down in the corner by an empty table. Ashlyn reached for the brown paper bag in front of her, and her fingers trembled slightly as she pulled out her lunch. It was something she had packed the night before, a simple turkey sandwich. But it didn't taste right. Her stomach churned, but she forced herself to chew. The bread was dry, the lettuce soggy, the turkey bland. It wasn't that the food was bad. It was different. A faint, bitter aftertaste lingered at the back of her throat, something metallic. She swallowed hard, trying to push the sensation away. She glanced down at the sandwich, confused. Was it spoiled? Was it left out too long? She looked around the cafeteria. The other students were eating, some laughing, some texting, and others talking to friends. No one seemed to notice her. Even if they did, they avoided looking at her. Lucas caught her eye for a brief second, but quickly turned away, as if he had seen something he didn't want to. Ashton stared at her sandwich, her hands suddenly too warm. She couldn't focus. She couldn't stop the gleaming sense of discomfort in her chest. She took another bite. It was worse, saltier, sharper, like something wasn't quite right, like something she couldn't recognize. The flesh of the turkey seemed to shift in her mouth. The texture was a little bit off, as if it wasn't supposed to be there. She looked down again, her heart pounding. There was nothing wrong with the food, nothing wrong with the sandwich, but her mind couldn't help but question it. Her vision blurred for a moment, just long enough to see the edges of the sandwich distort, like the world was warping around her. She blinked hard, but when she looked down, it was back to normal. Then put the sandwich down, pushing it aside, but the odd aftertaste remained, clinging to her tongue. A faint smell of rotting leaves and murky depths. The buzzing in her ears grew louder. She closed her eyes and took a breath. When she opened them again, she was staring at the empty seat across from her. She was suddenly aware of how alone she was, how out of place. A strange thought came across her mind. What if she didn't belong here? Just a little trip to the hospital over an accident in the woods, and she was now alone. What happened? Why? Her thoughts had turned inwards, darkened by strange ideas and the lasting taste of rotten flesh that she couldn't wash away from her mouth. Had the turkey gone bad? Or maybe it was her? It felt like something was lurking just out of sight, always out of reach. It was probably just trauma, maybe the lingering effects of the crash. Later, Lucas and Ashlyn walked home together. The couple turned a corner, and Ashlyn tried to push away the disgust and fear that had been dragging her down all day. Her mind drifted to the all once blissful memories of Lucas smiling warmly at her, offering his hand. His touch always made her feel safe. Those memories felt more and more distant, like a fading photograph. With a subtle motion, Ashlyn reached for his hand, fingers brushing against his palm, yet he winced and cringed, shoving his hand into his pocket as if her touch burned him. The shock stopped her dead in her tracks, her heart pounding in her chest and her head ringing, her eyes wide as she gawked at him incredulously. "Why have you been acting like this?" she pleaded, her voice trembling with frustration, a knot tightening inside her stomach. Lucas mumbled, clearly not fully paying attention, eyes roaming and his pace unfaltered. "You've been treating me like I'm a stranger ever since the accident. I'm still me." She could feel the bitterness rising in her throat, but she forced it out. Her words weighed heavy by the paranoia and aftershocks that had festered ever since the crash. "Ashlyn, just quit it. And I'm the one who got her, not you." Her breath caught in her throat as she pushed forward. "I just want us to be happy again." Before she could finish, Lucas snapped. His voice was sharp and irritated. "This isn't about you." The tone stung, striking the bullet to her chest. Lucas turned to his heel, not even sparing her a glance. He didn't want to hear it. Ashlyn stood frozen, her body trembling with a mixture of anger and hurt. She wanted to scream, to demand an answer, but words caught in her throat, unable to break free. The space between them had grown wide and cold, and no matter how much she reached for him, it was like there was a wall between them now. She could feel the hot sting of tears welling up in her eyes, the red welts forming under her lid as she blinked them back furiously. It was all his idea, his fault, and she started seeing these things. His idea to go camping that day, his recklessness that hurt her. Her hands balled into fists at her sides. How could he be so selfish? After everything, after the swamp, after everything she had gone through, he was the one who was treating her like this? The door to Lucas's house closed with a resounding click, echoing in the empty streets and signaling the finale of the moment. Ashlyn stood there, breath coming in shallow gasps. She turned and stormed off, her footsteps sharp against the pavement, each step heavier with resentment. By the time she reached her dorm, anger had begun to bubble up inside her again, a low boil that made her head turn and stab with pain. Ashlyn threw herself onto her bed, burying her face in the pillow as tears dribbled down her cheeks. She couldn't stop them. Not this time. The tears spilled freely, wetting the pillowcase beneath her. Every sob felt like a release, but also a deeper loss. What had happened to them? What had changed between her and Lucas? It used to be easy, so effortless and light. But now, all that remained was this gnawing emptiness, a quiet sadness that smelled like the swamp. The same thick, mucky feeling that had haunted her since the crash. Weeks passed as Ashlyn's friends began to drift away. Instead of hanging out at cafes with warm cups of coffee, Ashlyn found herself alone in the library. Her nails were long and dirty, her hair wild and unkempt. She was noticeably thinner, as her eyes grew tired and bloodshot. Ashlyn rarely left the house, even at school. People avoided her like the plague. During the night, sleep was just a fleeting memory. How can she sleep when all she can hear is an eerie growling just out of sight? Auditory hallucinations. That's what the doctors had told her when she called. She tried to fit into her shoes, but her new perfectly fit shoes that she had purchased only 2 months ago now crammed against her feet. She sighed. She didn't want to go back to school today. And Lucas's isolation didn't help her feelings. Ashlyn laid back down in her bed and stared at the ceiling. The sharp knock on the door stirred her from her haze. Lucas? She bumped her head against her bed frame, wincing slightly as she got up and rushed awkwardly to the door. She opened the door and... Hey there, Ash! Oh, hi, Mr. Eddie. Look here, I came to check up on you. You doing okay? Ashton sighed as she moved aside so the policeman could come in. He put his muddy coat on her coat rack. The rain must have made the roads muddy. She was going crazy. How could she mistake the accent she knew for so long with Lucas's voice? As she closed the door, soft tears began to drip down her face. No, I'm not okay. I just don't know what to do. I feel so out of place. Everywhere I go, Lucas won't talk to me. He's gonna break up with me, isn't he? Come on now. He's a nice kid. You know he won't be talking to any other girls. You got a beautiful smile, Ash. You can do this. Officer Eddie comforted her. Ashlyn continued to sob. Look at me. I'm old and ugly. I look like dirt and disgusting. Her tears formed soft puddles in her carpet. She scratched at her face, her dirty, long nails leaving red welts on her cheeks. Ashlyn. She stopped crying for a moment and looked up. Mr. Eddie has always been a laid-back and informal person, so she was shocked to hear him sound so serious. Listen here, lass. You can't do this. Look, I know that you feel like your world has been turned upside down, but you need to focus up. Remember, you need anything? Just give me a call. Officer Eddie affirmed. As Ashton's sobs subsided over a couple minutes, Officer Eddie stood up. He grabbed his coat before opening the door. Hey, I'm Ben for real here. You need anything? Give me a call. You're a strong girl. Ashton nodded, and Mr. Eddie closed the door behind him. The school day passed, yet nothing looked up for her. Everything felt lonely as usual, and Ashton just wanted to go home. The afternoon downpour worsened, and the delayed bus forced Ashton to walk home. A car ripped across the road, soaking Ashton in the disgusting, murky waters of dirt roads. She looked up, tears swelling up in her bloodshot eyes as someone crossed her vision. Lucas? She slowly walked closer to him, but then she froze. He was talking to it. The thing that had been haunting her for so long. Ashton couldn't move, and she watched as the creature extended a moldy and disgusting hand to hold Lucas's trembling hands in its own. Lucas sighed and nodded, not noticing her. Lucas! He froze and turned his head around, staring straight at Ashton as she raised a trembling finger. What? How could you do this to me? Lucas and the monster turned to look at her. Ashton's eyes widened as she took in the monster's appearance. It's her, but sticks, stones, and mud. A creature birthed within the swamps. It was a wicked and pathetic imitation, but Ashton's heart hammered at the sight of it holding Lucas's hand. She couldn't let it take him away. He was hers. He needed to be protected. Its neck crackled and twisted to look at her, and it opened a shambling finger of rotting leaves and bones. It turned to Lucas, opening its sickening maw to spill more lies. Its voice was low and wretched, like the sound of thick mud forced through a machine. That's not me! They ran from her as it gurgled and clung to Lucas's hand. Together, She could make out a few more words, but everything sounded muffled, like water was being pressed against her ears. Ashton's eyes began to go dark as the hallucinations started to coming back. But she couldn't let Lucas go with that thing. She lurched forward after the mesh. Her legs crashed down to the ground, but she wouldn't give up. The rain grew more and more vicious, and as water claws lashed down at Ashlyn, she could feel wet streaks tainting her arms as she raced out. She ran fast, the rain soaking her clothes. It felt like everything was against her. Perhaps it was the adrenaline combined with the hallucinations, but Ashlyn swore that her hands felt heavier and her legs began to grow weaker. They ran past several more people, but as Ashlyn looked closer, she realized they were monsters too. Like more disgusting scions of the bogs come to haunt her. Her world had been taken over, and she could do nothing about it. The chase continued, Lucas frantically dialing the phone to the police, and Ashlyn shrieking the entire way, begging, pleading, threatening. Her words became slurred. It felt like the top of her mouth was melting from the rain, and gallons of mud were covering her tongue. She was so focused on getting Lucas that she hadn't realized where they had run. The familiar rocks and roads, and even the ancient tree that they had crashed into. It felt like so long ago since they had been back at the bog. The sound of police sirens snapped her back from her frenzy. A single police cruiser crashed through the thicket and stopped in front of her, blocking her from continuing forward. Officer Eddie stepped out of the car, followed by the unmistakable sound of a gun clocking. Ashlyn's throat caught in her mouth. She realized that Mr. Eddie also had the leaves peeling off of his neck, and his hands dripping with disgusting, grimy mud. Maybe she was going crazy. No, she can't let these disgusting monsters win and take Lucas away. Her Lucas away. She wouldn't let them. Ashlyn, are you okay? Help, Mr. Eddie. She froze. She didn't say those words. She blinked, trying to push the mud from out of her eyes. Then she saw it. Officer Eddie's gun pointed at her. Lucas standing behind him and hugging Ashlyn. She fell, 2 shots to her legs. Mud gushed out of her mouth, and she raised a disgusting, grimy hand in protest as the officer got Lucas and Ashlyn behind him. Her legs looked horrible, twisted every which way during her pursuit and made worse by the sharp snarl of the pistol. She looked more like a pile of sludge made to resemble a human than a desperate girl trying to save her lover from the beast. Yes, that was it. Surely she wasn't in the wrong here. She wasn't a monster. She blinked back, the mud beginning to pool in her mind again. She looked up at Ashlyn. She reached out a hand to try to claw her way back to them, but the searing pain in her legs made it impossible to move. She shrieked in despair. The thing changed to look exactly like her. How could it? Lucas was fooled by it. He had to be. There's no way he would leave her for a monster that looked exactly like her. She couldn't stop now. No, Lucas was so close. She needed to protect him. Her hands, now a mixture of sharp rocks and dead branches, reached forward as she crawled, a desperate attempt. She was so close, so close, so close! The pain was unbearable as the unmistakable steel from the bolt of an officer landed on her jaw. The cracking and popping of bones was followed by silence as she fell into the underbrush while the others fled deeper into the bog. The pain was too much. She could only lie and wait as more police and park rangers were called to the scene. She saw them, and as she laid in the underbush, she realized something. There were no swamp monsters, no rotting leaves, no pile of sticks and stones came to life, but no one saw her. No one saw her broken and twisted body hidden in the bushes. No one heard her quiet groans and tearful whimpers as she lay there, broken. Things felt like a blur, until the sound of an ambulance sirens faded away into the torrential rain. She can't stay here anymore. Lucas needed her. She won't let her go. She can't let him go. She cried to crawl forward one last time, mud gushing out of her mouth. She tried to crawl somewhere, anywhere, that would save her. Her strangled breaths could barely be heard over the constant downpour. I told you, if you start acting crazy, I'll have to put you down. She froze, looking up. The disappointed face of Mr. Eddie was staring down at her, but that couldn't be him. His voice was so different. Her voice was broken, her jaw unusable. You have caused too much of a scene. The others don't want you here anymore, he said as he straightened out his jacket, covering the rotting leaves on his shoulder. He wiped the mud dripping from his fingers onto his pants. You are no longer worth it.